Talks have already begun to find a new French prime minister. Centrist President Emmanuel Macron met with Olivier Faure, the leader of the Socialists, earlier. Outgoing Michel Barnier, his government fell after just 91 days, had the shortest tenure in modern France, and the first government to fall from a no-confidence vote in more than 60 years. A trigger for Barnier's ouster was his use of a special provision to force his budget through Parliament. So Barnier remaining on in a caretaker basis. Here's what Macron had to say when he addressed the nation on Thursday evening.
Today, the Prime Minister handed in his resignation and that of the government. He has been censored, a first in 60 years, because the extreme right and extreme left united in an anti-republican front, and because the very people who ran France yesterday have chosen to help them in their vote of no confidence. I will never assume the irresponsibility of others, especially the members of parliament who consciously chose to bring down France's budget and government only a few days before the Christmas holidays.
Well, the Socialists are part of the left-wing New Popular Front alliance. However, Macron has ruled out with meeting with several of the parties from that coalition, which is the largest voting bloc in the French parliament. He also won't meet with a far-right National Rally, which is a single party with the most seats in the French parliament. Here's how some figures on both the left and right have reacted to that.
He comes across as a president who is in charge of everything, but responsible for nothing.
He's ignoring the reality of a new political order. Two-thirds of the parliament is composed of National Rally deputies and those who are elected under the banner of NUPES. It's not me who wanted them, it's the French people.
Well, for more, we can speak to Philippe Moreau-Chevrolet, a senior partner at the iconic consulting firm and a professor of political communication at Sciences Po University. Thank you for speaking to Paris Direct. After the meeting this morning with the socialist leader, Olivier Faure claimed that Macron had said his party could bring new hope to the country. Do you buy that?
It's very possible that he forms an alliance with the moderate left and the moderate right and his own political party, the president, in order to have a functioning government that could actually pass a budget law. It's very possible. It's something that he can do. The only question is, what are the terms of a possible agreement? And does he really want to do it, or is it only for PR? And then he will go back to his previous solution, which was choosing a right-wing president in order to form an alliance with the far right. So there is a question mark on that.
Right. Well, let's say Macron did offer it to Olivier Faure, the socialist leader. How could the Socialist Party accept that without violating its own coalition partner on the far left, who's not even being included in these talks?
It's very possible that they do that, and because they can communicate to the public and to their voters the necessity of the hour. We need to do something now in order to, help the country in its time of needs, and it's really what the situation is. The vast majority of the French people are worried about the current situation, both on the economical and political level. The Socialist Party could say, okay, we are in a coalition. We will need that coalition later on. But in the meantime, today, we need to be building a government coalition in order to help our country and to, survive the moment, really.
Right, but the voters already felt like they had that coalition in the first place with this new popular front. And if we see the socialists becoming having the prime minister post, then voters might feel like that they had been abandoned.
The voters actually are really worried. The first feeling that they have is they are angry at the president, a majority of them, and they are in favor of getting rid of the government, a majority of them too, but they are mainly massively worried. So I think any combination that could provide a kind of a stability and a perspective and could try and calm down the economical forces that are really, really worried. I mean, all the people that work in companies that are already affected by the current crisis are really in a dire moment. If a governmental coalition can bring some comfort, some perspective, I think it would be greeted with relief.
Right. Michel Barnier was Emmanuel Macron's fifth prime minister since he came to power in 2017. Each one of those premiers has served a shorter and shorter period of time. Is there any hope that whoever has this next government would be able to provide that stability?
It's very possible that if we have a technical government that wouldn't be too involved in politics, that would, try and have a technical discourse. It's very comparable to what has happened in Italy, for instance, after Berlusconi. There was a technical government that could and tried to last and was indeed useful in order to help the country recovering economically and politically. We could have that kind of a moment. It's very possible, and it all depends on the will of the political forces to work together closely.
Yeah, and if there is a technocratic government, what would their priority be? This budget that was controversial, is that in the bin, or do they revive that?
I think all the moderate forces agree on the fact that there is a budget problem, and they disagree on the solutions, obviously, and that's what negotiations are for. And the France, is learning how to be a parliamentary regime all over again. We had a very vertical way of functioning with, a president that was a quasi-monarch. And we went through that, and now we are in a parliamentary system because the president has no majority anymore and no perspective to recover a majority on the short term or ever. So we are learning how to function as a parliamentary country again, and that's something that is a little bit rusty, but we can achieve that. I'm sure all of our neighbours know how to do it, so we should know.
Yeah, what we saw in the past few weeks might have seemed unthinkable just 5 years ago. But we saw the German government fall. We see the French government fall. These are the governments of the two biggest economies in the Eurozone. What are the short-term and medium-term economic risks here?
The short-term economic risk is that if we don't handle the budget correctly, we will lose our credit and we will enter a very, very difficult period of time with probably an economic crisis. It's not a given, but it's possible. And on the longer term, we need to stabilize the country in order to avoid what has happened elsewhere and to calm down the populist forces, which are very strong on the far right and the far left. And if we don't recover as a democracy quite soon, if we don't stabilize the system, we will be, like in many other countries, subject to destabilization and through political populist forces that are not really friends of democracy anymore.
Philippe, thank you very much for your time. Philippe Moreau-Chevrolet speaking to us. Thank you.